Christ is risen. Christos anesti. Christos hariave marilots. Christos voskres. And Masihu qam. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. We're coming to the end of the school year, and the Gospels also are coming to their end. So it's like a very, very sweet coincidence. We're in the church celebrating the joyful, bright, beautiful, sunny spring of the holy days of resurrection. And we are so excited about these days. These days are very special because the church in those days experienced the risen Lord, who is our example. Whatever happened with him will happen with us. Whatever happened to him will happen to us. And Jesus said that. If I suffered in the world, you also will suffer, but I'll be with you so that you don't be sad. But if I'm going to be glorified and risen in glory, you will also be glorified. What does glorify mean? To be shining bright like a king and a queen in a way that's only godly. So in the days after the resurrection of the Lord, after the Easter, we study the stories of his appearances. So there are many stories happened in there are many encounters that Jesus actually had with his disciples after the resurrection. We learn from St. John that he visits his disciples consistently on a known day of the week. Do you know which day that Jesus come to visit them regularly? Every week. Which day of the week? Thursday, Fridays, Tuesday? Yes, Matthew. Huh? Sunday. He consistently come to them on Sunday. And when he comes, he doesn't need doors to enter through. He just appears in their middle, in their midst. And we said, Johnny and Philo, that is to us mean what? When we are in the church, we're not supposed to move. What does it mean that Jesus actually came to them on Sunday? He didn't need doors or windows. He appeared in a way that's actually very magical. God's magic. But what does it mean to us? That Jesus comes to us, we don't need to open doors for him. Actually, we close all the doors. What does it mean? Yes? Chris? Huh? That's what they thought. So Chris is suggesting that Jesus is a ghost. And he said, no, I'm not a ghost. I come to you actually with my flesh, with my body. Touch me. Didn't the disciples touch Jesus' body? Didn't Thomas put his finger in his nail side and his hand in the side of his spear on the right side? Didn't he do that? Can a ghost have something to be touched? By the way, I'm going to tell you something. I'm interested in people who die and come back. And all of them, when they come back, they said, we were ghosts. We actually went through the walls. And we tried to talk to people and people didn't listen to us. We tried to get them to touch us or to see that we're still here, and nobody could actually appreciate us. We were like air. So how can Jesus be touched if he's a ghost? Chris, are you with me? So how did Jesus can be touched if he's a ghost? It's happening too often now to be ignored, by the way. Too many people are dying and coming back. Thanks to medicine, they bring them back. And apparently that your soul leaves because the body is hopeless. There is no way that the soul can live in it anymore. When it is sick, too sick to be lived in or destroyed, the soul says there's no point of coming to this place. It's destroyed. It's like a house that's been knocked down. Can anybody live in a house that's knocked down? No way. So, but Jesus' body actually came back. He was resurrected, but a body with special qualities. My body cannot go through material. I go through material, I will bang my head against the door or the wall, and I get a bump on my head. And it's not going to happen. But Jesus' body could go through things. Remember how we saw in Mel Gibson, The Passion of the Christ, how the shroud collapsed like a flat tire. What does that mean? Anybody can explain it to me? Yes? He went through, thank you, Stephen. He went through the shroud, he didn't need to unwrap it. That's why we have an image on it. As he going through it, he imprinted himself on the shroud. But he still can be touched. What is that? That's not something of this world. Has nothing to do with what we know. We know a lot of things, but this one is beyond what we know. We need to accept it as God's magic. I call it God's magic. Good magic. Super magic. So one of those visits, and I spoke with some of you about that visit after he saw Mary Magdalene on the morning of his resurrection, is the same morning, the same day, there were two disciples of Emmaus. Bear with me if we have read this, and let's just think about it a little bit. There were two disciples of his whom he knew very closely. They were with him for 3.5 years. You understand, to be with someone every day for 3.5 years? Let me see. That's more than middle school time with their teachers, because they have only 10 months every year for 3 consecutive years. I'm talking about every day. There is no summer vacation. With Jesus the teacher, every day for 3.5 years. You think they will not know him if they see him? Please understand, they've been closer to him than their own families, than their mother and father and brothers and sisters every single day. They went with him to places, they ate together, they saw miracles. They were very much impressed by him. Do you think they will forget about his face after 3 days? So he died on Friday, he was buried, they didn't see him for 3 days, so that their memory is like gone. They got Alzheimer's all of a sudden. So they were walking on the road to Emmaus, and which is like, how many miles we said? I think second and third will remember. How many miles was Jerusalem to Emmaus, the journey? Mr. Harvey, yes? 7 miles, thank you. 7 miles. Which may take, we looked this up, if it's a flat place, Philobatir, if it's a flat place and a flat road, and they're walking on asphalt, how long it's going to take? 7 miles. How many miles a person walk in an hour? Yes, David. 3 miles. But if you go up and down in a hilly place, it might take a little less, right? You might walk less than 3 miles, might be 2.5 miles. If you're going up and down, it's a very hilly place. It goes up and down. So I'm thinking maybe 2.5 to 3 hours. 2.5 to 3 miles an hour. So how many hours it will take them? Yes? Yes, Ravana. 2 to 3 hours. So they're walking with the person whom they know very well for 2.5 to 3 hours, and they could not tell who he was. And the word the gospel used, what is the word used to tell us, to explain to us this strange thing? What did the gospel say? Why did they not recognize him? One of them is his name is Cleopas. By the way, Cleopas, that's one of the two. We don't know the name of the other. It might be actually St. Luke himself. But usually the writer of the gospel don't write their names. So maybe it's St. Luke and Cleopas, maybe. But Cleopas for sure. Who is Cleopas? Or Cleopas? Yes? He's one of his disciples. He's the husband of one of the Marys, who is the sister of St. Mary, the mother of Jesus, of the Holy Theotokos. She is the wife of Cleopas, and she is also the mother of James, Judas, the one who wrote the letter of Jude, Joseph, and Simon. There are 4. These 4, they call them the brothers of Jesus because their mother is related to St. Mary. So they are called the brothers of Jesus. In those days, anybody who is related to you, if she's a girl, they call her, if you're blood related, if she's your cousin, she might be called your sister because you're blood related. So the Cleopas, who is the husband of Mary, the mother of the 4, I call them the 3 J's and S, were walking. And the other person walking with him, and they were doing like this. They're walking like this, and they're not very excited about where they're going. They're just dragging their feet, you can say. They're dragging their feet. And they look very sad and down. But guess who was looking out for them? It's always looking out for us when we're sad. Who is that person? Joyce and Joyce. Who is that person that looked out for them when they're very sad? Who's always looking out for us and for everyone when they are sad? Mariska. Jesus himself, absolutely. Jesus is the light of the world. He is the comforter who wants us to be comforted. He doesn't like it when we are sad. He wants to take sadness from us. Can we please sit apart so it doesn't seem like you have the ability to stop talking. So let's separate and go in different places. I'm going to very soon do the same with Philo and Johnny. Joyce, move please. Okay, so he's looking out for them. He's walking next to them. And he's walking, and they're walking. It's really early in the morning. Nobody's on the road. And they noticed somebody walking behind them. And they looked at him, and he looked at them. And he said, you know, something like this, peace. And they said, peace to you. And he said, why are you walking, looking down, like you're very sad and heartbroken? And Clopas said, he knows him. I promise you, he knows him very well. He's not only his disciple, he's also a relative. They're very closely connected. He looked at him and said, really? Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem? You've never heard about it? Nobody told you? And he said, told me what? That's Jesus. It's a little bit funny. He said, Jesus, there was a prophet from Nazareth. We believe that he's sent by God. He's doing great miracles. But our leaders took him and killed him. Didn't you not hear? How did you not hear? And he said, tell me. So they're going to tell him whose story? His story. And he's patiently listening. Who does this? Who does this? Usually a good teacher, when he wants to teach a lesson to any of us students, they will patiently listen to us, making our mistakes. Say they were stuttering and saying, okay, so he was envied and they hated him and they took him from us. They took him from us and they gave him to the Romans, and the Romans crucified him, and he was patiently listening to his own story. God does that. We come to the liturgy and we tell God his story. Don't we do that? Oh God, the great and eternal, who created man in incorruption, and God would say, I know. Right? We say to God things that he already knows. But listen, he loves it. He loves to hear from us what he already knows. Sometimes people say, I don't need to pray. I really don't need to pray. Why do I need to pray? Doesn't God know everything? And yeah, but we see that he actually loves it when we tell him his story. He loves it. He wants to listen to us. Do you think a mother will shut up her toddler who's 2 years old, just learning how to speak, or maybe a year old, to tell him, shut up because I am not interested in what you're saying, while he's telling her exactly everything she knows? You think she would be not happy listening? She would be so elated and excited listening to her child, telling her things that's very simple. She already knows. How many hours pass by this conversation? Now, go back. How many hours it took? Yes? Yes? Not 7 hours, 7 miles, but we said how many hours it takes. That's why you were talking to your friend. That's why you didn't get it. Everybody else was listening. That's the problem. Right, Miss Joyce? Okay, you agree. Yes? 3 hours. Okay. What's the 3 hours? It's an Orthodox liturgy. So, you get 2-3 hours to finish what you need to say to God, and God finishes what he needs to say to you. Right? What are you telling God? Anything that he doesn't know? You think you're going to say something to God that he doesn't know? But do you think he does not like it when we speak? He loves it. He came to listen. He came to listen to them, and he came to tell them things that they needed to listen to him too. So what we do in the liturgy, you just read, and I'm very excited. This is the first time ever that our kindergarten and first grade read in the liturgy, which is something very beautiful, and we waited to the end of the year to get this blessing. So we listen to God speaking to us. But at the same time, we also do what? We speak to God. Do you think He doesn't know any of it? No, He does. All of it. For 2 to 3 hours, that's our liturgy. It takes, that's what Jesus figured out. It takes a trip to Emmaus to finish the liturgy. Sometimes you say, it's too long, Abuna, too long. We're standing on our feet, we're hungry. We're tired. We still have a school day to finish. I'll tell you what, that time is so precious. I will not give it up for any reason. Remember in the fast, we used to stay up and pray maybe for 4 or 5 hours. I remember attending liturgy in my hometown in Cairo for 8 to 9 hours. We go at like 2 p.m. and we get out at 9, or 1 p.m. and we get out at 8. I really did attend those liturgies. In the beginning, it was a murder. I wanted to scream. But then as time goes by, I started to first get used to them, and then at the end, I actually enjoyed them. Every minute of them. In the beginning, it's tough. It's not easy. But as you get used to them, and then you start to actually savor them and enjoy them if your heart is open. So what does happen? Jesus goes into the room where they actually they say, okay, it's too late. Reach the town, is Emmaus, his name. Enter the house, they open the door, they invited him in and said, you're our guest today, let's eat. So they give him the bread, and as a guest, always, remember, you give the guest to say grace, to say thank you to God for the food. So he took the bread into his hands, like Abuna does on the altar, and then he did what? He gave thanks to his Father, always giving thanks to his Father, always. And then after, that's what we do. Before we eat, we have to pray. And then after he did the giving thanks, he broke the bread. When he was breaking the bread, I don't know what happened. Something must have happened at that second. All of a sudden, they were not able to know who he was. All of a sudden, in that second when he was breaking the bread, and why then? Let's think about that. As he was breaking the bread and about to give them, he was giving them the bread. They hold the bread in their hands, each one of them a piece. All of a sudden, their eyes are open and they saw who he was. He got this big, it's you. Before they finish even saying it, what happens? He disappears. Oh, why then? Why did Jesus disappear? Why didn't he stay with them? Now they know who he is. Anybody has an idea why he disappeared? Yes? He wants to meet them as he is, so everybody can recognize him. Where? Where was the church then? Yes? The upper room. So guess what? What is Jesus doing by walking with them 2.5 hours and then disappearing, and then they have to come back all the way, the 7 miles again, running to Jerusalem, because he really wanted them to see him and to touch him and to hold him and to give him a hug and to eat him. Where? And I'm serious about that, to eat him. Where? In the church. How much more can you have than eating someone else? I don't think I can have anything else. If I love someone, you start with, hugging and kissing and talking first, and then hugging and kissing, and then ultimately you want to be one with this person. You want to have him in you and that you will be in him. By the way, when you eat Jesus, Jesus eats you too. Who's bigger? Who is bigger? Is he bigger than me, or I am bigger than him? Who's the bigger fish? He's definitely bigger than us. So although he humbles himself and comes to us in a piece of bread and a drop of wine, but yet he actually is the bigger one. We are in him. He is in us. You say, I took Jesus in my belly. He's in me. But at the same time, we are actually in him, in the bigger God that he is. The comforting bosom, the comforting breast of Jesus, that we are gathered to him when we take communion. That's what he wants. Not only to listen. He loves to listen. But ultimately, he loves for us to be in him. That's the best thing I can tell you. Like a baby in the belly of their mama. So when the mama takes the baby in her womb, that's the best place to be, by the way. You know why? Why it is the best place to be? Because the baby doesn't need to eat, does it? The food goes right into its blood. The baby doesn't need to breathe even, because the oxygen goes right through the mother to the baby's blood. The baby doesn't need to move. Actually, it's floating, free of gravity, like an astronaut. It doesn't need to adjust its place because it's very comfortable. It doesn't need to adjust the temperature because the temperature is adjusted for it. Does the baby need anything inside the womb of the mother? Not really at all. If you want to understand what we want from God, what we want from Jesus, is to be that way, to be comforted. And he's very much interested in that. So he's going to show the disciples himself, but then he's going to give himself to them in the upper rooms. That's why he's going away, to bring everybody in. Mary Magdalene, Peter, come back. Disciples of Emmaus, come back. The Marys, the other women, come back. What are you going to do with us? He says, I want to meet you in the upper room. In the upper room, I'm going to show you myself. You can hug me, you can take me, and ultimately you're going to eat me. And when you eat me, I will eat you too. And you will be in me, and I am in you, to be comforted. That's what we say all the time. And that's why I said, in the beginning of the liturgy, we cry, Lord, have mercy. What does that mean, by the way? Listen, this is very serious now, very serious. We say it in Arabic, it's closer to the Aramaic. We say, Ya Rabbu irham. Raham in Aramaic and Arabic means womb. We say, means bring me back into your womb. Put me in your womb so I'd be comforted. That's what we say. And in communion, we are comforted. That's why I tell you, at the end of the liturgy, stay still. Don't talk. Don't rush out. Enjoy the presence of Christ inside of you and you inside of him. And let's feel this. Let's open our senses that Jesus is actually in us. And let's enjoy him. At the end of the liturgy, please, as I'm giving the blessed bread, so because I have it in order, so the kindergarten take it first, the rest of us have to stay still and feel the comforting presence of Christ, whom he wanted so bad to be in us. Yes. He can see the future. He sees the future right now. He doesn't wait for it to happen. You're right, Philomena. So there's no need for me to tell him what he knows already, but he loves it when I speak about it. He loves to hear our voices. Beautiful to him. And glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and the Holy Spirit.